Hello, and welcome to Week 8 preview of the KML. Let me tell you something. For this one, I'm gonna need something. We are halfway through the league, this regular season, if you can believe it. We're halfway through. We're finally to a spot where you can start seeing who's worth a damn, who's not, who's going to make the moves, who's trending which ways, and also the teams that got to make some drastic measures if they're going to try to make playoffs or stay off keg watch. There's basically two different playoffs going on. There's one to actually get in playoffs, and there's one to stay off keg watch. Both of them are heating up. I like what we got going on this week. Let's start talking about it. Let's go right to game number 1. All right, the first game we're going to talk about is the Reading Dwayne Bows. 5-2, sitting there in third place, going up against traveling to the return to the Sharknado. 3-4, 7th place. This is actually a pretty good matchup, a sneaky good matchup this week. I like what both these teams are doing. Well, I shouldn't say that because I like what one of these teams is doing. The other team is a dumpster fire of despair and of sadness, and basically it's got like a MRSA outbreak in the locker room as far as you can tell, because just everybody's dropping like flies over there. We'll get to them a little bit later. First off, I want to talk about the line of this game. It is heavy action on Rogers' side, favored by about 15 points. All-time record in this one. An interesting all-time record for this one. Favors Rob 2-0-1. Rogers has never beat Rob in this league. This could be the year. This will be the year. Preview of my pick. I'm spoiling it right now. I'm picking Rogers because Rob's team just flat out sucks. However, Rob's team, first off, Rogers' team beat Scott last week. Gave him a 3-game winning streak. It's one of the longest in the league. He's looking good. Got to feel good about that. Trending in the right direction. He does, however, he could be a little bit of a sham because he's got the lowest points against in the league by far. It's not even close. He's just like 30, 40 points less than the next highest team. He does have a little bit of a tough matchup, a little bit of a worry here. He's got Breeze and Ingram going to Seattle. Never good there, however. That's kind of offset with Ware, who, surprisingly, I thought he was going to be worth nothing by week 8, but lo and behold, he's still an RB1 and looks like to the rest of the year because Charles isn't going to get his shit together, and there's no reason for Kansas City to rush him along. Ware's younger, Ware's better, Ware looks good, can do everything, goal line, catch passes, run the ball. He does it all. He's like a better Jordan Howard, essentially. And, as long as they got him, why would they ever even bring Charles back? Why risk it? Why even if it's not even a risk, why would this better player? So I think that Ware going to Indianapolis offsets some to Seattle, going up against New Orleans there. And he's got Ezekiel Elliott on Sunday Night Football, big stage primetime football. I hate to say it, but, when Zeke's on primetime, you never know what's going to happen there. As for Rob, remember what happened to Rogers last year with the Reading Hospital? We're up to the Robbie Luck Hospital this year because his team, just top to bottom, has been decimated. He's got Lacey out for the year. He's got Jordy Nelson that is not his old self. He looks terrible. Maybe an RB2, definitely not an RB1. Looks terrible. A wide receiver 1, wide receiver 2. Looks terrible. He's got Jordan Reed's been out all year in concussion protocol. So who the hell knows what's going on with that? And then on top of that, he's got C.J. Anderson, who I actually like and want to make a trade for. But C.J. Anderson is being replaced as well to the point Rob's not even playing him this week. He's playing the backup, or the timeshare, or whatever you want to call it. So all these things together, I told you my pick. It's Rogers. There's no way Rogers loses this game. Lock it in. Bet your life savings on it because I don't see any conceivable way Rogers loses this game. Willing to put all the marbles in the basket on this one. This is my lock of the week. Let's go on to the second game of Week 8. The second game is the Buddy Van Doodles, 3-4, 8th place, going up against J-Rod, the Bod, Limbach, 2-5, 10th place. Another good sneaky matchup. We've got a lot of good matches this week. I like this matchup because this is going to be a turning point matchup for one of these teams. Both these teams have a rational hope that they can make the actual playoffs. I'm going to go on record right now and say it. One of these teams makes playoffs. I don't know which one yet, but one of these teams makes playoffs. The winner of this game is going to make playoffs. Going to be finishing the top 6. I don't know who it's going to be, but they're going to finish in the top 6. I just think it's going to happen. Conversely, the loser of this game is going to be one of the bottom 2 teams 2 or 3 teams and vie for the keg watch. You watch. This is a turning point game. Very important game for these two to set the tone for the rest of the year. The line on this one, I don't have a fucking clue. It's ridiculous. I mean, both these teams 100% cleaned house. I can't tell who's coming and going. You can't even try to make a trade with either one of them because, you check at 10 a.m. and they got a different team by 1 p.m. It's tough to get a handle on. So anyway, no line on this one. Vegas has thrown it out. All-time record favors Wingus 2-1. Both these teams lost last week. Not surprisingly, Wingus lost to Raw, put up the worst, by far the worst week lead, point-wise. It was a horrible week for him, like 60-some-odd points. It's fucking ridiculous. And, Jared did the same, put up the second least amount of points against the KBGs. That was ridiculous as well, just terrible. So both these teams are in a bad spot right now, starting on new losing streaks. Cleaned house, don't know what to even make of either team. I will say this, though, my pick on this one, I am going to go with J-Rod the Bot in this one, because I do know he's getting David Johnson. And if there's one thing I know about David Johnson, it's that it hates Mike Wingus. David Johnson hates Mike Wingus, and I think David Johnson is the reason Mike Wingus loses this matchup. I hate to say it, but I think it happens. I'm locking it in. J-Rod the Bod, Week 8, David Johnson, big win. Next game. The next game you and me are going to talk about is the Chalupa Batman, 1-6, 12th place, dead last, the basement, going up against Traveling 2, Vitaly Squad, 3-4, 6th place, last man in the playoffs. Vitaly Squad, pretty amazing run here, looked to be dead in the water about 2, 3, 4 weeks ago, was in keg wash games and everything, has put together a couple wins, couple losses, and lo and behold, he finds himself on the back end of playoffs. He's an interesting team, he's a dangerous team. We'll see what happens this week with him. The line on this one favors Bill by about 5 points. The all-time record, great all-time record on this one. I like this one. Vitaly, undefeated against Bill, 5-0. It's going to be curious to see if Bill can get off the horse on this one, can get the monkey off his back, so to speak, and get that ever-elusive first W against Vitaly. I will say this about this. Even though the line's 5, I don't think either one of these teams is done dealing. There's a bunch of time before the Sunday games. I think they might have a couple more tricks up their sleeves. Rosters might get adjusted a little bit more here, so that line could shift. We'll see how Vegas adjusts according to the different roster moves we might see in the next few days. Just keep that in mind as we talk through this game. First for Bill, lost to Joel last week. No shame in that. The GOAT continues to roll along, continues to roll over everybody in his way, and prove all the haters wrong. The biggest thing Bill did this week, though, traded for Stafford. And Matty Stafford is having the career year. He's just looked great up and down the field. He's putting up big points. I like kind of the matchup he's got this week. I like that move for Bill. I think he's going to be a good solid QB to lock down that position for him. As for Vitaly, he lost to Minot again. No shame in losing to the current champion of the league. The biggest problem for Vitaly this week is he's got Gurley and Hyde on bye. Those are two of his big studs. Those are his RB1, RB2 studs. Both of them on bye in the same week. That kind of stinks. That's going to be tough for him to overcome. As for my pick, I'm going to go with Bill on this one. I think he gets the monkey off his back. I do. I think it's tough to go 6-0 against somebody. I think Bill finally has got the right week with the right team, made a couple smart moves here, and I think he gets the monkey off his back, gets that W over Vitaly, moves to 2-6, maybe even out of the cellar, maybe even out of the keg watch game. You don't know what's going to happen. Going to be an interesting week for that. Keep an eye on it. I love this matchup. Let's go to the next game. See you there. All right. This is a matchup I love. This might be my personal game of the week. It's not the official game of the week, but it's like the 1B to the game of the week. I love this matchup. I, of course, am talking about Revenge of the Scurv. 4-3, right around 4th place or something, going up against, this is my white mare, 5-2, 5th place. No, 3rd place. Yeah, he's in 3rd place. 3rd place going up against 4th place, something like that. 2 playoff teams battling it out, trying to get to that next tier. I love this matchup. The line right now favors Turo by about 10. All-time record couldn't be more even. It's all tied up 2-2. The Revenge of the Scurv, they beat Vitaly's squad last week. Put a little bit of a thumping on him. It's fine. No shame. He rolled right over him like we thought he was going to. The biggest problem for him, though, is that Pittsburgh bye week. Pittsburgh's on bye. The Revenge of the Scurf team is a little bit Pittsburgh heavy, even before the Big Ben injury. Still, even after the Big Ben injury, still a little bit Pittsburgh heavy. I think that really hurts him this week, having the Pittsburgh guys on bye. The other interesting thing that we're going to have to keep an eye on here is he's got Mariota and he's got Henry going on Thursday night, and then he's also got some guy going early Saturday in the 9:30 game. So we're going to know real early. We're going to know this time tomorrow even maybe. We're going to know real early how Minot's week's going to go, because getting those two guys off to a fast start is going to be super important in this matchup, especially coming in as a little bit of an underdog. As for Turo, he beat Moto last week. That team's terrible. So you can't really read into that victory too much. He's also full strength this week, which is going to be a big beneficiary, big benefit to him going up against Minot, trying to get those points over him. I think the key for Turo in this one is going to be Aaron Rodgers going up against Atlanta in those afternoon games at 4. Aaron Rodgers, we all know, had his get-right game last week. He might be back to his old self. We're still not totally sure about that totally, but he's definitely treading in the right direction against Atlanta. He could have a big game. I expect at least 25 points from the QB position for him. So I'm going to pick Turo in this one. I think it's kind of close up until those afternoon games, and then I think that Rodgers kind of pulls it away and pulls out 10, 15-point victory for Turo in this one. Lock it in. Now, let's get to the swill, the pig pen of the week, if you know what I mean. It's the Cake Watch game of the week. Bring it on. Keg Watch. Game of the week. This is a pretty good Keg Watch game because both these teams are firmly in Keg Watch. I, of course, am talking about the Bubblegum by the Bum, sitting at 2-5, 9th place, going up against Go Cubs and shit. Also 2-5, 11th place. There's a couple interesting things about this matchup. First off is only one of these teams has done things recently to make their team better. That, of course, is Moto. We'll get to that in a second. However, this also may be the largest line, the largest spread Vegas has ever set on any of these games when both teams were at full strength, not starting anybody on bye or on injury or anything. They have full rosters, and the line on this one is Moto by 30 plus, I think. We're going to put it at 30 just to give benefit of the doubt, but I think it's 30 plus. All-time record also favors Moto, 1-0. It's a new record, Moto being the expansion team. New guys on the block. First, Moto. We talked about Moto last week. We're talking about Moto this week. Lost to Turo last week. His team is at full strength, though. He did made some great trades. His team's at full strength. I hate to say it, but I like the trades he's made. He's made like 2 or 3 trades this week. His team's looking a lot better than it was previously. However, he did take advantage of some of those that are less fortunate than him. It's kind of like having sex with a Down syndrome girl. Like, sure, you lost her virginity, but you still had sex with a Down syndrome girl, so you can't really brag about it that much, even though you've done well for yourself. That's kind of how I equate the trades that he's made. His team's better, but it was at the expense of those less fortunate than him. So he kind of took advantage of people there. However, hey, he's got to sleep at night, and we all know about how his moral standing is given his current profession. As for Scott, he's flying high. He's all about baseball right now. He's not even giving a shit about fantasy football. It's damn obvious by the fantasy football trades he's been sending out and also the roster he fields this week. He has Odell and Ajayi on bye, literally the only 2 good people on his team, both of them sitting on bye this week. That roster's absolutely in shambles. He's got no assets to trade. Nobody wants any of that garbage he has on his team. It's even worse than Robbie Luck's team, which is really saying something. It's a no-brainer on the pick of the Keg Watch game of the week. Moto gets an easy win here. I don't even think he breaks a sweat. I think it's in the bag for him. Gets him off Keg Watch, which is a miracle. You really need this one. I still don't think he makes playoffs, but he's definitely off Keg Watch. I'm not even worried about it. So lock it in. Moto wins this one. And let's get to the game that we've been waiting for all year. New scene. Here we are. Puked a little, but here we are anyway. This is the matchup that everybody and their brother and their sister and their nieces and nephews has wanted to see all year long. You couldn't ask for a better game of the week. And I don't think we're going to get a better game of the week the rest of the year. This is the best game we're going to get until the championship game. I'm calling. I, of course, am talking about the KBGs, 6-1, first place, going up against the greatest of all time, the GOAT. The GOAT. Of course, she duped on my Johnson. That means shit. She shit all over my dick. She shit-dicked me. 6-1, also, second place. I mean, can you believe this shit? Can you believe the stars have aligned? That these two teams are now matching up come week 8 with some pretty significant playoff, maybe not playoff implications, because I think both these teams are pretty much locked into playoffs. However, bye week implications. Huge bye week implications on this one. The line currently is Joel by 5. Joel leads the all-time record 3-0. KBGs have never beat Joel. Well, let me tell you something. The honeymoon phase is over. The honeymoon phase is over. Nobody will impress anymore. He's locked in. He's in the family. He doesn't have to do shit anymore. He's in the family. So he can now put Joel in his place if he wants to. Speaking of Joel's team, we'll get to him. But first, the KBGs. They beat J-Rod last week. They've got a 4-game winning streak. They look hot as shit. They look great. The problem is they've got Antonio Brown on a bye. The more pressing problem is every single fucking person on this roster is goddamn hurt with a hamstring or sickle cell, and it's driving me fucking crazy. Every single person, hamstring, sickle cell, hamstring, sickle cell. Make up your fucking mind. Pick one, pick the other. I don't give a shit. Just get the fuck healthy. You know? And it wouldn't be so bad if it wasn't this goddamn week. Why couldn't it be next week? It's got to be goddamn week 8. All this. Anyway. As for Joel's team, Joel beat Bill. Got a 3-game winning streak going as well. Looks pretty good there. This week, Joel is at 100% full strength. Has nobody on bye week that matters. I think I hate to say this. I hate to say this. But I think the most important game of the week for the KBGs comes down to Thursday Night Football. The Jacksonville Jaguars, of all people, going up against the Tennessee Titans because the KBGs are going to be starting Allen Robinson for the Jacksonville Jaguars, and they're going to be starting the Tennessee Titans defense, and they're going up against the tight end for Jacksonville, Julius Thomas. And the KBGs are going to have that game break the right way for them and have a good lead to have any fucking shot of going after Joel's team. I don't like what I see. I think the KBGs are in real fucking trouble unless they can come up with some magic this week, unless they can pull something out of their ass or make some nice moves in the next 72 hours. It's going to be a real rough go of it. I'm going to pick Joel in this one. Now, I picked Joel also knowing that the KBGs have Blair Walsh going on Monday night. That could literally be could go from getting 15 points out of that field goal kicker to get -2. There's no middle ground. Everything's possible in between those two, so I hate the KBG matchup this week. I hate who they're playing. I don't like the roster. I don't like the health of the roster. I don't like any of it. I think Joel takes this one pretty easily. It's going to be a little bit embarrassing for the KBGs. He's really just hoping to try to keep it close, so we're locking it in. With that said, I just want to take a moment to thank everybody for watching these weekly previews. I hope you've enjoyed them. We are now more than halfway through the season. It's a little bit depressing. I'm already sad about the season being over. However, there's a lot of football left to be played, a lot of moves left to be made. It rhymed, it sounded good. So, let's have a great week 8 out there. Best of luck to everybody. We're going to have some stuff heating up. Playoffs is going to heat up. Keg Watches is going to heat up. Keep it tuned right here for all the latest news and all the action, all the stuff you need to know and the stuff you don't need to know here on the KML Weekly Preview. Thanks for tuning in. I'm your host, Mike Morano. I'll see you next time.